What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. We are back. It's week 14. It is the fantasy playoffs. We have finally made it. And if you haven't noticed by now, got a different hat on. It's kind of like, if you guys watched the NBA Finals back in the day, Michael Jordan and the Bulls, they would go from their regular shoes and they'd wear the black playoff shoes. That's kind of how I feel today. I feel like it's just a different week. And I'm sorry if I look a little more tired than usual. My son, my 2-year-old, was he's dealing with his first battle of throwing up. So that was basically from 2:30 to 5:30 this morning. But I'm here for you guys. We're going to talk about some fantasy football. We're going to start, as we always do, with some injuries. And if you guys have not already, make sure you go down below, right down there where it says subscribe, and click on that subscribe button, click the notifications tab, because we are going to be doing videos regardless. If you guys win this week, if you don't win this week, we are going to be doing videos all off season for you guys to keep you guys in the loop with some things that you need to know as we go through the off season. It's very important, obviously, to stay in tune with things. We're not going to overload you or anything like that, but we are going to keep you informed so that once your fantasy season comes around, you're not playing catch up to everybody else. So as usual, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be starting talking about the injuries for the week, how it impacts, your fantasy team, some of the things that you may have missed throughout the week, and kind of go through that. So we're going to start right at the top, but after we do that, we're going to go into talk about all of your sit-start questions. So that's where we're going to spend the most of our time. I'm not going to spend much time on injuries. So start Isaiah Crowell. He's questionable. He missed a lot of practice time this week with a toe injury. They say they are expecting him to play. I don't know if I want to trust him, even if he is playing, if he's active. It's a good matchup against the Bills. It really is. The game script shouldn't go too far south on him. But at the same time, missing that practice, having Elijah McGuire battle for touches, you're probably looking at a 10 to 15 touch game here for Crowell. Then he needs to score to hit value. So he's a very risky play. I have him in the RB3 territory. Not overly excited about him missing practice. Eric Ebron, he's going to play. He missed a couple practices earlier this week with an illness. He returned to practice. He is good to go. Don't worry about him. Next, we have Kiki QT. He's a little bit more questionable. So Kiki QT is someone that, he injured his hamstring multiple times this year. They held him out last week. This week, we kind of felt like we were going to get him back, and all of a sudden, we don't have him back once again. So it's not great. It's not a good time to own Kiki QT. I said he was droppable at the time, and I still stand by that. So I'm really not interested in playing him, over some other proven options. So up next is the big shocker of the week. It's Odell Beckham. If you guys missed this yesterday, I know me, I was out of the house, and I got a message from Chris, my video guy. He actually told me that Sammy Watkins is out, or Sammy Watkins is out. Sammy Watkins is out too, but that Odell Beckham's not going to play this week. So unfortunately, it's like a bruised quad. He didn't travel with the team. This is basically a team that's out of it. So it's not really shocking, but it's really upsetting as a fantasy owner, because there's leagues myself. I mean, when you get to playoff times, this is where the time, you were supposed to trade away your depth and trade it for studs. I traded for Odell Beckham in a 14-team industry league that I really, really felt like I had a chance to take it over this year. And he's out. I'm playing against Derrick Henry this week. It's all bad. So, Odell Beckham's not playing. So get him out of your lineups. This helps Sterling Shepard. I'm sure I'm going to take a lot of questions on him this week. I've moved him up into high-end wide receiver 3 territory. Sammy Watkins is out. This is no shocker. They're expecting him to be out until the playoff run. So Sammy Watkins, he's droppable. The Chiefs, they did add Kelvin Benjamin. If you guys haven't heard, I don't know if you really want to do that. I don't think Kelvin Benjamin fits the Andy Reid offense. I don't think he's a movable chess piece that they can put all over the field. He's not playing this week. So even if you grabbed him already, he's not playing. Don't put him in your lineup. Sammy Watkins out. So up next, Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson is out. He's another one that they're saying that is probably going to be out for the season, that they're not expecting him to play another down with the Bucs again. So that's kind of how we're approaching it. He's not playing. This helps Chris Godwin and Adam Humphries. However, the conditions in the Tampa Bay game, New Orleans game, they are not great. That field was resodded at the start of December, as they do every single year, and so it's softer grass to begin with, and it has been pouring there. It's going to rain up until game time. Going to be getting showers mixed in, so I think that's going to be a very run-heavy game for those teams. So just understand that. Going down to Evan Engram. Evan Ingram's going to play. He did practice all week, and it's really weird because he was a full participant, but now we're hearing that don't expect much from him. I don't know if I believe that. I think they need to use Evan Engram this week. It's not a good matchup, though, against Washington. DJ Swearinger has been really good defending tight ends, so Evan Engram is like a high-end tight end 2 this week. I do think he gets more work than they're letting on, though. Melvin Gordon is out once again. They're hoping that he'll return to the Thursday night game. They're playing on Thursday night next week, so that's a big game against Kansas City. I think they're expecting him back for that, but again, he's not playing this week, so that's what matters now. Emmanuel Sanders, he is out for the year. If you guys haven't heard, that's another person that, if you don't pay attention to your fantasy lineups until Sunday, he's out for the season. He's done. You could drop him, whatever. He tore his Achilles in practice. Next, we have Matt Breida. He was announced as out early in the week. So the 49ers basically said, we're done dealing with this ankle injury with you. We are going to put you on the bench for a week. They should have done this a long time ago, just to let his ankle heal up. But he's out for this week. So Jeff Wilson is going to be in a lot of the questions below, I'm sure. But yeah, we'll talk about all that as we go through. Kerryon Johnson, another one, he's out. Wouldn't shock me if the Lions shut him down. The fact that they haven't put him on IR already, it kind of tells me that they are expecting him to come back. But, next week, do you trust him? It's hard to say, but he's not playing this week. LeGarrette Blount is the guy that's going to be in the lineup. We have James Conner. He's also out. So it's like all these running backs are starting to fall. And Jalen Samuels was the hot pickup of the week. Stephen Ridley's going to be mixed in for the Steelers. So that's like a game where a lot of people are expecting Jalen Samuels to get a lot of work. He has not received 12 touches since high school in a game. More than 12 touches. So, going through college, going through the pros, he has not received more than 12 carries in a game. So I don't know if we could rely on Jalen Samuels to touch the ball 20 times like James Conner was. So Stephen Ridley's probably going to mix in. He's probably going to get 8 to 12 touches himself. So if you're looking for a desperate, dire option, Stephen Ridley is out there. But he's not going to catch many passes. So Doug Martin, he's expected to play. He injured his knee earlier or last week, and it led the Raiders to sign C.J. Anderson as a free agent. So C.J. Anderson's on the roster, but he was basically signed as an emergency in case Doug Martin couldn't go. Doug Martin's going to play. All is well there. If you're looking for a Doug Martin handcuff, it's C.J. Anderson, but that's not saying much. And then Doug Baldwin, the last one. This one's frustrating to fantasy owners because Doug Baldwin is... he's not guaranteed to play, and he doesn't play until Monday night. He did not practice this week, and they've listed him as very questionable, that his hip just basically hasn't gotten better. And this is a must-win game for Seattle. They're at home against Minnesota. It's a tough game for both teams. I'm guessing he's probably going to gut it out, but at the same time, I don't think it was a great matchup to begin with. I have Doug Baldwin in the wide receiver 4 territory. If you have another viable option, like let's say that you're talking about Sterling Shepard, I would play Sterling Shepard over Doug Baldwin. That wraps up the injuries, guys. So what we're going to do now is we are going to get into the sit and start function of our day, and I'm going to take as many sit-start questions as I can all the way up until an hour before game time. So we have about 50 minutes of uninterrupted start, sit, talk, and so go ahead, put your questions in there. I don't grab them in any specific order. All I do is I go and I grab them randomly. So if like 5 minutes goes by and I haven't answered your question, it's probably best to ask it. You could ask it again. Please don't flood the chat, because then I'll be answering the same one over and over, and I don't want that to happen. So go ahead, put your questions in there, and we are going to get started with this. And make sure you guys, if you guys watch Red Zone, you know how awesome it is, right? It was like a game changer for fantasy football. It's kind of like what our devs have done on the site. So if you guys go to fantasypros.com/Gameday, Gameday is it's like Red Zone for your fantasy team. You upload your team into it, and it'll spit out the stats for your fantasy teams only. It won't give you the unnecessary stuff, the stuff that you don't care about, the stuff that you want to know. It's awesome, because I used to watch Stat Tracker. There it is right there. So I used to watch Stat Tracker as part of my Sunday routine. It was searching. I'm like, oh, who just had a run? How did I get points? And I didn't know. Gameday changed that. So fantasypros.com/Gameday /NFL/Gameday. That's where you go to get all that. And it's legit awesome. It's a game changer. You guys are going to love it. Even though it's late in the year, you'll love it for next year. So let's get started with these questions. All right, Curtis Samuel or Doug Baldwin, half PPR. I'm going to go Curtis Samuel just because I don't know if Doug Baldwin plays, and that's a worthy sub, because Curtis Samuel has played 92% of the snaps over the last 2 weeks. Devin Funchess was on a snap count last week. So I don't know if he's going to be as involved, but I do believe that he's a big part of this offense. He's also used in the shorter passing game, which doesn't affect Cam Newton's shoulder as much. I just believe he's explosive, too explosive not to have on the field. And so yeah, with Greg Olsen out, I think they have Curtis Samuel on the field a lot more, just because they're going to be running more 3 and 4 wide receiver sets. So I'm going to go Curtis Samuel there. Am I crazy to bench Galladay for Chris Godwin or Humphreys? I don't think you're crazy, no. I don't think you're crazy at all, but the thing is I am worried about the weather in Tampa. Like coming into this, like if someone told me that they had Chris Godwin as a top 15 play this week, I wouldn't have said they were crazy at all, because I feel like the matchup calls for it. Against Eli Apple, it's a great one. Adam Humphries against PJ Williams, those are great matchups. But the thing is like, does the rain affect that? I think it would affect Adam Humphries a little bit less, because he's of the more intermediate range and doesn't have to rely on a slippery football or whatever. So that one's tough, man. I don't know if I could bench Galladay for them, because Galladay is going to see 8 targets in that game. Patrick Peterson is a great cornerback, one of the best in the game, but he also plays a lot of zone coverage, and they can move Galladay around to try and escape that and move him into the slot. So I'm going to go Galladay just because of the weather circumstances, but if the weather was good, I probably would lean with Godwin. PPR flex 1, Spencer Ware, Zay Jones, or Curtis Samuel. Also Lamar Jackson or Russell Wilson, 6-point passing touchdowns. So I have that exact decision on the quarterback. I am playing Lamar Jackson over Russell Wilson. Mine doesn't have 6-point passing touchdowns, but I don't think that Russell Wilson is going to throw 3 touchdowns this week. I don't think it happens. Minnesota's been really, really good. Outside of one game to the Rams, which, by the way, was on a Thursday night, they were traveling across the country on a short week. There was just so many factors that went into that the reason they had such a bad game. I just feel like outside of that, they've been pretty dominant. So I think that's going to be a lower scoring game. Not really excited about it. Lamar Jackson's an extension of the run game for the Ravens. Kansas City has struggled against the run. Their pass rush is good. So you have to think he's going to be kind of like shoved out of the pocket. And I believe that's where Lamar Jackson gives you a safer floor than Russell Wilson this week. So I have that exact decision. I'm going Lamar Jackson. As for the question above, Spencer Ware or Zay Jones, this one's tough because Spencer Ware, obviously the guaranteed touches, you want that. You have a running back who's at home. They're almost a touchdown favorite at home. All those are great things, but the Ravens have been dominant against running backs this year. It's like Spencer Ware ideally what you get is the line he gave you last week, where a lot of people were disappointed by it, right? I mean, what did he have? Like 50 some yards and a touchdown. It wasn't a great performance against the Raiders, but I mean, the Ravens are so tough. I don't know. If you want a floor, I think it's Spencer Ware. But if you want a ceiling, it's Zay Jones. Zay Jones' matchup against the Jets today is fantastic. He dominated them the last time. I think it was 98 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's the matchup that keeps on giving. The Jets against slot wide receivers have just been dominated. Buster Screen has been terrible. Perry Nickerson, his backup, has been terrible. Like, there's just so many issues with that team that Zay Jones, it's tough to rely on Josh Allen when you get to the fantasy playoffs, but, I mean, Zay Jones is a pretty good start. All right, let's see. It's Chris Conley or MVS standard. I'm going to go with Valdez-Scantling here. I just don't think that Conley's ceiling is high enough. I mean, I know people are going to talk about it and the fact that it's Patrick Mahomes and whatnot, but Baltimore, again, this is a defense that has been playing very well against wide receivers. We saw Julio Jones get shut down last week. We saw Calvin Ridley get shut down. So Chris Conley, I'm not really excited about him this week. I have him down outside. I think I have him like wide receiver 6 territory. I mean, he could score a touchdown, but it's not going to win you your week. MVS, the matchup is much better against Atlanta. I know he hasn't been really involved with the offense, but again, if you look at Chris Conley's stat lines, if he doesn't score a touchdown, he's busted in even good matchups. So yeah, I'm going to go with MVS here and take my chances. Full PPR, Curtis Samuel, Cortland Sutton, or Kenny Galladay. I'm probably going to go Galladay there. Cortland Sutton's really close, though. Cortland Sutton, I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to go with him, but the fact that it's a PPR format worries me a little bit. Cortland Sutton just had his first game of the year where he had more than 3 receptions, so that does hurt you in a PPR league. He had 4, so it's not like it was like he had a breakout week. With Emmanuel Sanders gone, I do think he's going to see an uptick in targets, maybe go from 5 or 6 per game up to like 8. So that's definitely an increase. But Kenny Galladay, I think it's tough to avoid him just with the sheer volume he's going to get in that offense. So I'll go Galladay. Standard bench 2, Tevin Coleman, Galladay, Landry. Okay, guys, I can't answer that. If you guys put more than 3 players in there, I'm going to have to skip it. I'm sorry, just because I want to get to everybody's question, and you have to narrow it down. And if there's more than that, there's no way that I can actually get to a lot of questions. Hey, Tags, does the weather impact your rankings for Ridley and Godwin? Yeah, it does. Lambeau Field is cold with 10-mile-an-hour winds, and Tampa Bay rainy with 16-mile-an-hour gusts. Yeah, the wind I'm not worried about in Tampa. That's not the concern. It's the wet football. If you guys missed at the beginning of the show, I talked about how they've resodded the field in Tampa Bay. They do this every December, and so the sod is actually softer than it typically should be or would be. So that's going to make for tougher footing to begin with. And then on top of that, you have a wet field. It's going to be a sloppy game. Like if you've seen a video of the Tampa field this morning, it doesn't look good. And they're expecting rain up until game time, and they're expecting showers hours in between and thunderstorms. So it's going to be a weird game. It wouldn't shock us if there was thunderstorms and then they decided to postpone and push it back a couple hours, which would actually help the field dry up a little bit. It does affect everything. It just depends on who you're choosing in between, because this is the week where it matters, and it's like taking as much risk out of your lineup as you can matters, but we have so many injuries to worry about that it's tough to say that you should take chances or risks on players like that. So it's really tough. Ridley, I'm not so worried about. I think the cold is fine. I mean, Matt Ryan, he's played in cold before. It's not like he's Jared Goff where he's lived in California his whole life. He went to college in California. He plays in Los Angeles now. There's a lot of things that Jared Goff hasn't played in, but Matt Ryan has played in colder temps before. I mean, you don't have a question there as to whether it's Ridley or Godwin. I have Godwin ranked higher right now, but I'm still kind of figuring out how I want to rank those guys as it goes. So I'm not as worried about the cold. Let's see. And as for the wind, if it's 20 miles an hour or more, that's what affects passing games. Like, people have done studies on this, so I'm not too worried about the wind in those games. All right, let's see. Gus Bus, Cortland Sutton, or Robinson PPR. I guess that's Allen Robinson. Yeah, like common last names like that always give me pause just because I don't know. So Gus, I have concern about Gus this week just because he doesn't catch passes. He's played 3 games with Lamar Jackson. He has not caught one single pass. And if the Chiefs jump out to a lead, it's going to change the way that the Ravens do things with Lamar Jackson. So that's concerning. Cortland Sutton, this is tough. I mean, I'd probably go with Cortland Sutton here. Allen Robinson's close, but again, Aqib Talib back for the Rams is massive. They've been a different defense with him on the field. They're not forced to have Marcus Peters shadow opposing number 1 receivers. That helps things. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Cortland Sutton here. I think Gus is probably the safest play because Kansas City has really struggled against the run, but I'm worried about him getting game scripted out and minimizing his upside, especially in a PPR format. Sony Michel or Austin Eckler in the flex. This one's Sony, and it's not even that close for me. I do like Eckler more than most, apparently, because some people, there's a lot of experts out there who have talked about they just believe Justin Jackson's like an RB2 play this week. I'm not willing to go there yet. I do think that it's a timeshare between the two, but that Eckler has the more valuable role on the passing downs, and he'll catch passes, whereas Justin Jackson really doesn't catch that many passes. But Sony Michel, that game script is going to, they're 9-point favorites. It's a matchup that is designed for Sony Michel. We've seen Tom Brady down the stretch struggle in the fantasy playoffs. It's not really struggle as much. It kind of is struggle, but in the fantasy playoffs, he's let fantasy owners down. And the reason is because the Patriots run the ball in December. They run the ball. They get prepared for the playoffs. They stay healthy. That's how they do it. So they don't want to put Tom Brady at risk. The Miami Dolphins team as a whole, the run defense has been trash. It's a matchup. It's a dream matchup for Sony Michel. I like him a lot. Baker Mayfield or Josh Allen. This is a legitimate question, but I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield. Carolina hasn't been a secondary to run away from. I believe it's now 8 matchups in a row where they've allowed multiple passing touchdowns to quarterbacks. So it's not a tough matchup for Baker. I don't think it's a brutal one. Whereas Josh Allen, he might have a higher ceiling because of his rushing ability, but I can't play Josh Allen and feel good about it during the fantasy playoffs when I have Baker Mayfield there. I don't have him very, very much apart in the rankings, but I do have Baker higher. If you start Josh Allen in any league, just don't watch the game because it will kill you. It will hurt you inside. It will do things that you didn't think were possible. So I'm going to go Baker with that one. Non-PPR, Burton, Reed, Arnold, or Ian Thomas. So me personally, I'm going Trey Burton here. I've talked about this and the fact that I think Trey Burton bounces back this week. They're getting Mitch Trubisky back. That's one of his favorite targets over the middle of the field. And knowing that Aqib Talib is back, knowing that Marcus Peters is back on one side of the field where he does best, the middle of the field is where you attack the Rams. And Nickel Roby Coleman, he got back on the field last week. I don't know what's going on. They've been bringing him on and off the field, but he's gonna match up with Anthony Miller. Miller could have a fine game if Roby Coleman is pulled off the field for whatever reason, but the athletic tight ends have succeeded against the Rams down the middle of the field. Their linebackers and safety play hasn't been particularly great, so I'm going to go with Trey Burton here. I don't trust Jordan Reed with Mark Sanchez, and Dan Arnold, as much as I liked him, I should say, as like a streaming option. It's tough, man. Like that game, it should not feature a lot of passing. I was already concerned that Drew Brees wasn't going to throw the ball more than 25, 28 times. And now it's like with the rain, with the field conditions, it might even be lower than that. So I'm worried about that. Ian Thomas, don't need to talk about that one too much. So I'm going to go Trey Burton here. Mark Ingram. Oh, I'm sorry. That question disappeared. Sometimes they just do that as I start to read them. All right. So let's see. Jalen Samuels, Eckler, or White Standard. Man, this is tough. I want to say Austin Eckler. I really do here. Jalen Samuels and Eckler are very close. I believe I go Eckler just because I know his role on the team, I think. And they're not going to completely take him out and say Justin Jackson's walking into an 18-touch role. I don't think that happens. The Bengals, the team they're playing this week, has allowed opposing running backs to average, I think it was 27 carries per game against them. That's ridiculous. So even if Justin Jackson gets 14 carries, you're still looking at 12 or 13 for Eckler. You're going to get a few receptions mixed in there. We know his role. James White, not really in this conversation for me, just because he's more of like a touchdown guy. He's not getting a lot of volume this week against Miami. They don't need to dump down to running backs. That shouldn't be in the game plan. But as for Jalen Samuels, he's the one that it's like the wild card, right? We don't know what he's going to get. He has played well in his limited time with the Steelers offense. He is the one that fits the mold. The reason that I have him, as RB2 in my rankings is because I feel like Jalen Samuels is someone who, when you talk about the Steelers, their workhorse running backs, when you go back to Le'Veon Bell, you go to D'Angelo Williams, James Conner, these are all guys that can catch passes. Stephen Ridley has never been that guy in his career. He just doesn't do it. So Jalen Samuels makes sense. I just don't know how invested I want to be. I just think that Austin Eckler might provide similar upside, but just more of a guaranteed role. They're very close between Samuels and Eckler. I think I would go Eckler, though. PPR, Cousins versus Allen. I love the PPR questions for quarterbacks. It's so awesome. Just because it's actually mattered in a few instances this year. I would it's Cousins for me. I was actually looking at this yesterday. So Seattle, the 4 biggest quarterback performances they've allowed this year have come in the last 4 weeks. So they've started to struggle. You look at it, Goff 318-2, Rodgers 332-2, Newton 258-2, Mullins 414-2. I feel like Cousins is a safer start. Cousins hasn't been great this year, but I would go with him over Allen. Let's see, flex Michelle, Cook, or Sutton. Michelle. Yeah, Sony Michelle is like an RB1 play for me, guys. Jameis Winston or Baker. Saints scare me, and so does the rain. It should. That's where it's like the area in the rankings that it's really tough to get down to, because I wish that I had a live look in at Tampa Bay's field right now where I can stand there and tell you guys what's happening, but I don't. That's really tough. I might play it safe and go Baker just because Jameis, there's a legitimate possibility that the Saints have possession of the ball for, 35 minutes of that game and the Bucs have 25%. They don't have a run game. They can't run the ball on the Saints. It could be turnovers for Jameis Winston. There's a lot of ugliness to this game, and I just don't know if I don't know if it's a very good thing. So I'm going to lower in my rankings. It's tough. I think I would go with Mayfield and just play it safe, honestly. Cortland Sutton or DJ Moore or Sterling Shepard. Ooh, in a PPR. I want to say DJ Moore. DJ Moore's just been playing so well to take him off the field. He's been getting the targets as of late. It's 8 or 9 targets. That's really good. With Devin Funchess not playing particularly well, with him not being a full-time player seemingly. Curtis Samuel is someone that he shouldn't net 11 targets per game like he did last week. So I like Sterling Shepard this week, though, too, because Sterling Shepard's going to get a lot of targets in this game, a lot of them. So is Saquon Barkley. I'm going to go DJ Moore here just because I'm going to play the guy that's been doing it. We don't have to wonder what his role is because someone's missing from the offense like we do with Cortland Sutton and Sterling Shepard. I'll say DJ Moore. It's close, though. I debated Sterling Shepard, to be honest with you. Pick 2, Gus Bus, Ware, or Samuels. This one's relatively easy for me. I would take Samuels and Gus Bus. Spencer Ware is not someone I really, really want to play this week. I don't know the effect that Charkandrick West is going to have on the offense. He obviously was brought back to the team this week. He knows the offense very well. He's played a 3-down role in the offense. It's not that he was as good as Ware was, but it could turn into more of a timeshare between the two, and it's a brutal matchup against Baltimore. So, yeah. Josh Gordon or Robert Woods, Standard League. Me personally, I have Josh Gordon ranked higher, and I think I would play Gordon knowing that Xavier Howard is out. So Xavier Howard's out for the Dolphins. He's like their number one cornerback. Everybody else has been kind of abused. Minkah Fitzpatrick is decent, but since he was asked to move to the perimeter, he hasn't been as good. So Josh Gordon, I think I would go with him. Robert Woods' matchup against the Bears is a tough one. The Bears have been pretty good against wide receivers. Robert Woods has been going into the slot about 65-70% of the time. Bryce Callahan's the Bears' slot cornerback, and he has been really good about keeping the play in front of him. I want to say that he's only allowed one touchdown in his coverage this year, and it was to Julian Edelman, and it was a weird play. I don't want to take time to describe it, but he's been really good, guys. So I think I'm going to go Josh Gordon just because I think the upside is higher. James White or Mixon in a PPR? Mixon for sure. Again, James White is down my list. I like James White better than Sony Michel last week. Like, I'm playing the matchups when it comes to the Patriot running backs, and this is 100% a Michel game. Like, unless you think that the Dolphins are going to be beating the Patriots late in the game, or they're going to get a pass rush on Tom Brady, who, by the way, has been sacked like the third fewest of any quarterback in the NFL. Meanwhile, the Dolphins' pass rush has been like legit nothing. There's a lot of reasons why that James White shouldn't be needed in this game. I just feel like it's a game where they're going to use a lot of Sony Michel. I feel like when they need to go to the passing game, it could be Gronk and Josh Gordon. So I just don't think James White is heavily utilized in this game. And if you don't get a touchdown, I think you'll be disappointed. Ware or Samuels for flex? I have Ware. Samuels, I'm sorry. Samuels over Ware. Non-PPR, Gus Bus or Jeff Wilson. In a non-PPR, I would go with Gus Bus. So Jeff Wilson's a decent play in PPR formats. I do believe that when you look at the Broncos team, like where they've struggled, over the last 3 weeks, they've allowed like 23 receptions, 230-something yards, and 2 touchdowns, I want to say, to running backs through the passing game. So the passing game, that's where Jeff Wilson's got to succeed because he's not going to run the ball in Denver. But again, in a non-PPR, I'll take Gus. Chris Godwin, Spencer Ware, or DJ Moore, PPR, thanks, Tags. It would have been Chris Godwin, except for this weather situation has just got me worried, especially in a PPR. I just don't think it's going to be a heavy volume game for either team. I'm going to go with DJ Moore here. It really stinks because I would love to play Godwin. It's just this weather has really worried, so yeah. Luck or Goff? Luck. I'm going Luck 100% here, guys. So I talked about this on the podcast, and if you guys missed it, I understand not everybody listens to the podcast, but if you guys, for whatever reason, you guys just are watching the live stream and you haven't listened to any podcasts, it's the best way to consume football information. There's apps on your phone that literally just say podcast. You click on it, go to FantasyPros Football Podcast, and we're there. We talk about all this stuff throughout the week. But Houston, okay, they look like they're a good defense against quarterbacks, right? Right. Okay, so we're going to go back. Let's take a look at the quarterbacks they've played since they played Andrew Luck back in week 4. By the way, back in week 4, Andrew Luck put up 464 yards and 4 touchdowns on them. Since that time, they've played Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, Cody Kessler, Brock Osweiler, Case Keenum, Colt McCoy and Alex Smith, Marcus Mariota, and Baker Mayfield. Over the last 2 weeks to Baker Mayfield and Marcus Mariota, they've allowed 700 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Yes, they did intercept Baker Mayfield 3 times. That's fine. Andrew Luck's not worried about it. Like Andrew Luck, if he throws picks, it's fine. We'll come back. We'll throw it again because they're not going to run the ball in Houston. So I like Andrew Luck. He's like a top 5 option for me this week. I'm to the point where I would play Luck over Drew Brees with this weather. So yeah, I'm going to go Luck here. Goff is different. So Goff, I'll talk about for a second because there might be some other questions. Joe Flacco is inactive, so that's very helpful as a Lamar Jackson owner. You don't have to worry about it. If he throws a pick or 2, he's probably not going to get benched. That's good. So going back to Jared Goff, I looked into this a little bit because I wanted to see. Jared Goff has played 1 game in sub 40-degree temperatures. And in that game, it was against Denver earlier this year. He threw for less than 200 yards. I want to say he had 1 touchdown in the game. It was not a great game for him. He completed 50% of his passes. On top of that, I looked deeper into Jared Goff, under pressure. Because the Bears bring a lot of pressure. With Khalil Mack on the field, like that team is just nasty. Their pass rush is really good. Jared Goff ranks as the number 23 quarterback in the league when under pressure. That's of, I think 30 quarterbacks who qualified for that. When he's kept clean in the pocket, he is the number 4 ranked quarterback. So there's a major thing here. The Bears are playing at home. It is cold weather. It's supposed to be like 27 degrees around game time. So it's a different atmosphere for this Rams team. And the Bears have done pretty well against the run, but they've started to show some weaknesses as of late. And I think that Gurley is the way that they have to win that game. So I'm going to say that Andrew Luck's the clear-cut one for me. Sit 1 PPR. Mark Ingram, Sony Michel, Aaron Jones. Oh my God, that's brutal. I don't want to sit any of them, but if I'm forced to, seriously, this is a terrible, terrible like question. Rick, I hate you for asking me this because like seriously, that none of these guys should sit this week. If I had to pick one of the bunch, I would say it is Mark Ingram that would sit, because Sony Michel, you know, he is in somewhat of a timeshare, but he's the Garrett Blount of the offense. He gets the goal line carries. He's going to see 18 plus carries in this game. We can't say the same about Ingram. Aaron Jones, that game in Green Bay, the temperatures there are, I think, 21 degrees. It's really cold there. They're a home favorite. Atlanta's really struggled against the run as of late. So there's a lot of reasons to like those guys. So I'll play Michel and Aaron Jones, and I will sit Ingram, even though I don't think he should be sat this week. All right, let's see. Moving down. PPR, wide receiver 3, Cortland Sutton, Boyd, or DJ Moore. So I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to go DJ Moore. There's definitely some risk to it. But knowing that Denzel Ward is out for the Browns, that's game changing. Like, he is a cornerback that was holding things down for them. They've already had, I think, 2 of their other starters were already hurt to injury. So they're down to a lot of backups here. I think DJ Moore is the play. I like Sutton. Boyd is fine. But I just feel like DJ Moore has maybe not the same floor as someone like Tyler Boyd, but I think his floor is close enough and his ceiling is much higher. So I'm going to go with DJ Moore. Standard, Cohen or Chubb? Chubb. Yeah, I can't play Cohen over him, especially when Chubb's getting, 18 plus carries, like almost in all but one game. And even against Houston last week, he found the end zone. So he's basically like the guy there. Like, Duke Johnson is just a backup. Cameron Brate or Dan Arnold? Well, they're playing the same game, so I can't even get mad about Dan Arnold's weather. That's tough. I have them right next to each other in my rankings. Like, that's just being honest with you. I think Arnold comes with more upside, but I think Brate's safer. That's my answer. I don't think that Cameron Brate is going to score you. I don't think he's going to record more than like 30 yards and a touchdown. Like, I think that's his ceiling. But Arnold, again, I don't know how much New Orleans passes. Chris Carson or Marlon Mack? Carson this week. I think. Yeah, I would go Carson just because I think like he's got a better chance. They're running the ball like 30 plus times a game, whereas the Colts are quick to abandon the run if they're not getting anything going. And I just don't think that Marlon Mack will get it done against Houston. Half PPR, Ridley or Pettis because of the cold. Can Ridley handle catching in the 20s? Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say, right? Like, we have a very small sample size in Calvin Ridley, and that Pettis is interesting because Denver is not the secondary that they once used to be. We have Marquise Goodwin coming back to the team. They're not going to be able to run the ball very much. So the question is, George Kittle, Marquise Goodwin, do they cancel out Dante Pettis in terms of like his target upside? Me personally, I would go Ridley in that situation. I just feel like his role is much more locked into what he is with the Falcons, whereas Pettis, he has had a couple awesome weeks, and I think he's a great player. Like, I do like Pettis, but I just don't know his role, and I don't know if I can rely on his quarterback as much as I can, Matt Ryan. So that's where I go. Hey, Mike, you the man. Well, appreciate that, Matt. PPR need to. All right, so I'm sorry, Matt. You asked like I always tell people 3 or less players. I can't get to all that. I'm so sorry. There's like 6 players in there. Kenyon Drake or Golden Tate PPR. Give me the guaranteed touches with Drake. Both of them are boomer bust players, essentially. Tate looks better with Carson Wentz as of late. Like, they're starting to get on the same page, like chemistry between the two. But it is a tough matchup against Dallas, even though Tate did dominate them back when he was with Detroit. I'm going to go with Kenyon Drake here. Gus Bus or Golden Tate PPR? Wow, back-to-back Tate questions. In a PPR, I might go Golden Tate in the PPR, man, because Gus isn't going to catch anything. So, like, Gus Edwards in PPR hurts a lot. Like, I think about this in the form of, like, DraftKings. So, like, you're looking for players, like, if you spend $4,500, you're looking for them to score, 12 to 14 points. Gus Edwards legit needs to find the end zone. He's not getting 140 yards. And so, like, it's like we have to figure this out and say, like, I'm going Golden Tate. PPR hurts Gus Edwards so much. Ravens will use 2 QBs. No, the Ravens aren't going to use 2 QBs because Joe Flacco's not playing. Lamar or Goff. I have Lamar Jackson a spot higher than Goff. I think he has the better floor as well. Eric Ebron or Justin Jackson in a half PPR. Ebron. I'm going to go Ebron. Yeah, the matchup against Houston's really good. Like, Houston has struggled against tight ends. I mean, I think they've allowed 3 tight end touchdowns in their last 4 games, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been like Ebron's getting a lot of targets. I think Andrew Luck throws the ball 45 times this game. Justin Jackson, as much as I think I want to like Justin Jackson, I like the player, and I think he can fill a role on that team. I just don't know how many touches he gets. Like, we have no guarantee of a bigger workload for him. Drew Brees and Michael Thomas, or Lamar Jackson and Zay Jones. I'm not going to pass up Drew Brees and Michael Thomas for those guys. Not happening. No. Even if they get outscored, I'm fine with that. I'm not gonna back into that question. No. Sit 1.5 point PPR. Spencer Ware, Adrian Peterson, Justin Jackson, Ingram. All right, so that's 4 players. I already just read the whole thing. So sit 1. If you're sitting 1, it's got to be. I think it's got to be Justin Jackson, just because we don't know his role. Him and Spencer Ware are very close though. Jackson or Cohen. If that's a standard format, I might go Jackson. If it's PPR, I'd probably go Cohen. They're close in my rankings, very close. I don't like Cohen's matchups so much this week against the Rams. Adam Humphries or Godwin, non-PPR. I had Godwin higher, but I might go Humphries just because of the weather situation, knowing that, you know, the weather, the field, how it is. It would less impact someone like Adam Humphries than Chris Godwin, but both of them are moving down the totem pole for me. Let's see. Stephon Diggs, Zay Jones, Curtis Samuel. Need 2 of them. All right, so you're going to play Diggs against Seattle. They don't have a shutdown cornerback. Diggs has been practicing a lot more. Zay Jones, great matchup. I'm going to go with Diggs and Zay Jones here. I mean, Curtis Samuel, while I do like Curtis Samuel, and I think that the matchup's a good one against the Browns, they have allowed some big plays. I don't know about Cam Newton's arm. It's an added risk here. Curtis Samuel, it's an added risk that Devin Funchess might come back and play a bigger role. Last week, he played like basically half the snaps. He's going to get some work in the red zone. So I just don't know. As much as I want to say Curtis Samuel's a full-time player for sure, that's the risk that I need to move to the other guys. I would play Diggs and Zay Jones. Tags help STD standard. That was another podcast conversation. It was a good one. Mark Ingram or Joe Mixon? Oh man, that's tough. The Chargers have struggled a bit. Corey Legit, once he went down, they have struggled a bit against the run. Mixon he played well last week, but they're mixing in Giovanni Bernard a little bit more now. Man, that's tough. I'm probably going to go Mark Ingram. So the reason I'm probably going to go Ingram here, like, you think about the field. Let's talk about the field in Tampa Bay. The field is messy. It's new sod. It's wet sod. It's slippery. It's everything. What running style better suits that? Is it Alvin Kamara? Is it Mark Ingram? It's Mark Ingram. He's more of a downhill runner, whereas Kamara, he will dance a little bit. Kamara's fine. Like, he's going to be fine. But I think Mark Ingram is going to have a big role in this game. Joe Mixon's just part of a bad team. It's possible they get blown out. He's not used much in the passing game, which is stupid. It is what it is. So I'm going to go with Mark Ingram here just because unfortunately, oddly, I think he's a safer option. That's the truth of the matter. I just don't like the way that the Bengals have used Joe Mixon. Marlon Mack or Gus Edwards? This one's Gus Edwards. I don't like Mack this week. Lockett, Zay Jones, or Dante Pettis in a PPR format? It's pretty tough to get away from Tyler Lockett with the way that he's played. In a PPR league, he's worth a little bit less because he doesn't see more than 5 or 6 targets per game. He sometimes catches 1 or 2 balls, but he catches a lot of touchdowns. Minnesota isn't the team that allows a whole bunch of touchdowns, but knowing that Doug Baldwin might be out, or if he does play, he might be limited, Tyler Lockett is probably the best bet there. Zay Jones and Pettis are good plays. I just don't think I could attach myself to Josh Allen throwing passes or Nick Mullins throwing passes when I have a receiver that's tied to Russell Wilson. That's my concern there. So I'm going to go Lockett here. If you're talking about you just want to play your heart, I mean, Zay Jones got it done last time. Yeah, I'm going to go Lockett. I can't get into that. All right, so let's see. Jimmy Graham or David Njoku? I'm going to play Njoku. Jimmy Graham with the broken thumb. So he racked up some catches last week, but the thing is playing in 20-degree weather with a broken thumb, that's not going to be fun. That could sting him the wrong way. He could get knocked out for the game. They have nothing to play for, so like I said, if he re-injures that thumb, there's no reason for him to come back. I'm going to go with Njoku. He's in a great matchup this week against Carolina, who has allowed, I think, the second most fantasy points to tight ends. Samuels or Gus Bus? Samuels is my choice, just because I believe that Samuels is the one that's game script proof. I don't think you have to worry about that with Oakland. But Gus Bus doesn't get anything in the passing game. That really does concern me. I'll go Samuels. PPR league, pick 1, Zay Jones, Chris Conley, or Allen Robinson. I would play Allen Robinson of the bunch. I don't think it's a great matchup for him, but at the same time, the Bears do move him around quite a bit. So he's not going to see like just Aqib Talib or just, Marcus Peters, but he's not going to see just one of those guys, but he'll see a bunch. I think he comes with the highest floor, and that's why I'm saying him. So his floor is much higher than Zay Jones, who just had a game the other week, I think. Was it 2 weeks ago? He had no catches in the game. That's obviously a problem. Like, you can't have that in the fantasy playoffs. Allen Robinson's not going to have that. Zay Jones, on the other hand, comes with more upside. I would say Zay Jones has higher upside than Allen Robinson this week, but I would say I would be playing Robinson myself. Sony or Jeff Wilson? Sony. Lamar, Allen, or Wilson? Lamar is mine. Yeah. So guys, there's a few questions in here about, worry about the Ravens using 2 quarterbacks. So Joe Flacco's inactive. He's not playing. So that eliminates that. The only person that could come in for Lamar Jackson is Robert Griffin III. So, I think they're going to stick with Lamar here. He's won in 3 straight games. You have to give him a longer leash than a half a game. So, pick 1, half PPR, Gus Edwards, Justin Jackson, or Tyler Boyd. Half PPR, huh? That's really close between Edwards and Boyd. I guess I'll take Edwards in the guaranteed touches, but Tyler Boyd, he plays the slot. He's going to match up with Desmond King. Desmond King has allowed a high catch rate, but he hasn't allowed much yardage. Like, he keeps the play in front of him. He's done a great job with that. So it's really tough there. I'd probably just take the guaranteed points with Gus Edwards because, even if they do fall behind, 14-0 or whatever the case, I doubt that happens. But if they did, I don't think they're going to completely abandon the run. They can't. Like, they can only abandon the run if they're getting blown out, and it's clearly a passing situation. I think they're going to stick with the run as long as they can. Edwards should see minimum 10 touches here. So 10 touches in a plus matchup, I'll take that. Start 1 is RB2 in standard. Jalen Samuels, Austin Eckler, the Garrett Blount. I've talked about this one. I have Eckler as... Eckler is probably the one I would play. Samuels I like. Blount I like as a high-end RB3. But Blount is like, he's not the guy that's going to rack up a bunch of yardage, but I think Blount is a guy that could find the end zone this week. So he's a little risky, but I'm going to take Eckler. I just think that the touches against the Bengals are going to be there for them. So even if it's Justin Jackson getting more work than I'm anticipating, I do believe that Eckler is going to see somewhere in the range of 12 to 15 touches, something I can't necessarily guarantee for Jalen Samuels. CJ Uzomah, Chris Herndon, or Mark Andrews? Ew. Can I choose none of the above? Like, is there another option for you? Uzomah against the Chargers, that's a terrible matchup. The Chargers have been really good against tight ends this year. Uzomah's been very inefficient. Herndon against Buffalo, again, that's another team. Buffalo's been really good against tight ends as well. So, like, there's not much appeal there. And Mark Andrews, that's a timeshare tight end. There's like 4 tight ends that are playing snaps for the Ravens. I'd probably go Herndon just because he's been getting targets and he's been efficient with those targets, even if it's a tough matchup against the Bills. I'll go with Herndon. Gus Edwards, Julian Edelman, half PPR. I'll probably take the guaranteed touches again. Just give me the guaranteed touches. Go with Edwards. Tyler Boyd or Chris Godwin in a half PPR. It's to the point now where Godwin's moving down because of this weather situation. It stinks too because he was such a good play. So I'm going to go with Tyler Boyd. Jameis Winston or Baker in standard. I answered that one earlier in the show. It's a really tough one for me to answer just because of the weather situation. Jameis probably would have been the play, but remember, guys, New Orleans has been better against the pass as of late, so use that as your excuse to get off Jameis. So, looking at it, Dak Prescott, 248 and a touchdown. Okay, that's not bad. Matt Ryan had a good game, but that's a divisional game. You don't want to, divisional games are different. Carson Wentz before that, 156, no touchdowns, 3 picks. Andy Dalton before that, whatever, it's Andy Dalton. But still, this is a messy game. They're playing on a messy field. I think the Saints defense is better. But again, another divisional game. The team knows Jameis Winston very well. I'm going to go with Baker here, play the matchups. Carolina has been terrible against the pass. Not terrible, but very, very giving, let's say that, against the pass. So I'm going to go Baker and just play it safe. Jeff Wilson or Cooks in a half PPR. I'm playing Cooks over Wilson. Andrew Luck or Rivers, that's a really close one. So as of right now, I'm going to pull up my rankings just so I could be completely 100% honest with you and tell you exactly where I have them. I have Phillip Rivers at, so I have Phillip Rivers at 3, and I have Luck at 5. So I have Rivers there, and the reason is because Rivers is safer, right? Like, I don't think that Rivers comes with the upside that Luck does, though. So depending on what you're looking for, like if you're just looking for a guy to provide you with I think Rivers, I think it's fair to say we can give you an 18-point floor. I think that's fair. Rivers is your guy, 100%. But if you're looking for someone to potentially carry your team, like let's say that you went against Derrick Henry on Thursday night and you need some upside, Andrew Luck would be the play. So it's close. They're both top 5 plays for me. Eric Ebron or Jalen Samuels in standard. I know a lot of people are going Samuels in this one, but I would play Ebron. He just gets too many targets in this offense to pass him up. Samuels, we don't know his role yet. I think Samuels is the guy there, but I just don't know. Winston or Trubisky with the weather. I would probably go Trubisky. It's gotten to the point where I think I'd go Trubisky. Just play it safe there. Like the Bears in the cold. Mitch has played in the cold before. He understands it. The Rams are not a cold weather team. It's not to say that stuff all matters, but it's factored in, right? Mitch seems like he's doing fine from a health standpoint. I just worry about the field there against New Orleans. Rudolph, Brate, or Ian Thomas. Rudolph's matchup's terrible. Bradley McDougald. Brate's matchup is terrible against the Saints. Ian Thomas. Ugh. I guess Ian Thomas. I mean, I don't feel great about it, but I guess Ian Thomas. With Beckham out, move Diggs to wide receiver 2. Need a flex and tight end. All right. So the tight end. Adams, where? All right. So there's too many players here. I'm sorry. It's going to just take too long for me to go through that. Winston or Lamar. I would play Lamar Jackson. Hey, Mike, hope your son feels better soon. Thank you. Appreciate that. I hope so, too. I don't want him to throw up at all. Like, that just sucks. I hate throwing up. Need 2, full PPR. Eckler, Cohen, Humphreys. I would go with Eckler for sure and probably Humphreys. Eckler and Humphreys is probably my pick in a full PPR. I think if they do go passing in Tampa, I'm guessing that Adam Humphreys should be a lot more heavily utilized than like Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. Start 2 in full PPR, Chris Godwin, Curtis Samuel, Sony Michel. Okay. Guys, I hate to do this. I hate to skip over questions, but seriously, if it's more than 3 players, I have to because I have to keep going. Watson or Winston, 6-point touchdowns, scared of weather. Oh, I had Watson over Winston to begin with. 100%. Like I have Deshaun Watson as my number 2 quarterback this week. I am confident in Deshaun Watson, and I'm playing him over like everybody. So I love Deshaun Watson. Should I bench Jameis for Josh Allen given the weather situation? That's borderline, man. That's really close. I don't know if I can go that far, but it's close for sure. Yeah, Josh Allen I have down at 18. I don't think I'm going to move Jameis Winston down that far. I don't want to overreact too much. I think it limits the ceiling of Jameis Winston, but I don't. Yeah, because Jameis has legs too, right? Like Jameis can run. Like that's an underrated portion of his game. He's a big dude. So I'm going to go with Jameis. I'm not going to play Allen over him. All right, let's see. Spencer Ware, Sterling Shepard, or Justin Jackson, full PPR. Shepard. I'd play Shepard. Usually I want the guaranteed touches, but I think Shepard's guaranteed touches this week. Like with Odell Beckham out of the lineup, with Evan Engram less than 100%, Sterling Shepard for sure. Pick 2, Mark Ingram, Eckler, and Justin Jackson. It would be Ingram and Eckler for sure. All right, let's see. Getting down here. Thank you guys, as always, for being here. And if you guys haven't yet, like there's a lot of you guys in here. I appreciate you guys here. Hopefully you guys are learning something. Hopefully I'm providing some value to you. And if I am, do me a favor. Go down and click that like button below. It really helps me out. Obviously, this is the one way we can grow the channel. It tells our bosses that we're doing our job. And hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I know a lot of you guys have subscribed, so thank you guys. We had 21,000 subscribers. We grew from literally almost like a startup YouTube channel this year. So thank you guys for the support. Really appreciate it. Let's see. Gonna get to some more questions here. We have another 10 minutes or so. Adrian Peterson, LeGarrette Blount. I would play Peterson. So knowing that Odell's out, that's going to make the Giants offense a little less potent. And I don't think there's any way they blow out the Ravens. So therefore, Adrian Peterson should, I think this is a game where he should see 20 plus carries against the Giants defense, who has really, 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 really struggled without Damon Harrison up the middle of the field. Since they traded him away, they've been terrible. I think here, I'm going to pull away the stats for you. So I think I have him down. Yeah, since they traded him away, there have been 5 games. They've allowed at least 120 or 114 yards rushing in every single one. Every team has rushed for at least 4.1 yards per carry, and they've allowed at least 1 rushing touchdown in each game. So I mean, Adrian Peterson should have a game. And Adrian Peterson, by the way, was one of those running backs that they played during that stretch. Peterson against them totaled 26 carries, 149 yards, and a touchdown. And then he had another touchdown receiving. Don't rely on that, but yeah, Peterson. Chris Godwin or DJ Moore? This has been a common question. I went DJ Moore. All right, let's see. Half PPR, Mixon or Cohen? I would go Mixon there for sure. Who to start, Chris Herndon or Trey Burton? I would go Burton. Let's see. Mixon, Samuels, Johnson, non-PPR. I'm not sure the question there, but knowing that Jalen Samuels, and I'm not sure who the Johnson is, I'm going to go Mixon. I'm going to go Mixon of those. Pick 2, Jalen Richard, Gus Edwards, or Spencer Ware in a PPR. Gus Edwards for sure. Oh, man, that's tough. Knowing that Doug Martin's not 100% is tempting to say Jalen Richard. And Spencer Ware is used more in the passing game than Gus Edwards. This is a tough question. This is a really tough one. You know what? Let's just go with the 2 workhorse backs. Let's go with Edwards and Ware. It's not a great matchup for Ware, but I'll take him. He is involved a little bit in the passing game. Yeah, that's where I'm going to go, unfortunately. Richard just presents too much risk. I don't think he's seen more than 4 targets over the last 3 weeks either, so they're seemingly not using him as much in the passing game. Matty Ice, Lamar Jackson, they're literally neck and neck in my rankings. I have Matt Ryan 1 spot higher. That's it. So it's tough, but I would probably, me personally, I would go with Matt Ryan, I think, just because I just feel like he's safer. Lockett or Justin Jackson, full PPR, pick 1. I would go in this one. I'd probably go with Justin Jackson. Just give me the guaranteed touches. Lockett in the PPR format, it doesn't do much. Like, he doesn't catch more than like 3 or 4 passes a game, and Minnesota's a tough matchup. So I'm going to go with Justin Jackson here. There is risk with Jackson. I've talked about that throughout the show, where I don't think that he's guaranteed to be that number 1 back like some people think. I think that Eckler and him are going to split carries. I think Eckler is going to get the majority of receiving work. So Jackson should have value. So I'm going to go with him. Flex 1, Tevin Coleman, Adam Humphries, or Chris Godwin in standard. So I would go with Tevin Coleman here. I want to play it safe. You know, that game is cold in Green Bay. I don't know if that gives the Falcons an excuse to run the ball a little bit more. Coleman's on the brink of going into free agency on a really bad run. He needs to turn his season around here. The Packers haven't been dominant against the run or anything like that. I picture this as a potentially high-scoring game. So I'm going to play it safe here and get away from those wide receivers in that messy field and go with Coleman. All right, let's see. Half PPR, Chris Thompson or Alshon Jeffrey? I'm going to go Chris Thompson here. So the matchup is fantastic. I am worried about his touch count because they've kept his touch count down low. I don't know how much Mark Sanchez is going to target him in the passing game, but when he does get carries, when he does get targets, they should be worth a lot. You know, Landon Collins is out for the Giants. That's another bonus for Adrian Peterson. With Landon Collins out, knowing that run defense has struggled, I think Thompson has a chance to break a big play. And Alshon Jeffrey is just a really, really tough matchup against Dallas. I do expect Alshon to get back on track at some point. It's just I don't think it's this week. All right, let's see. Wilson or Winston 4-point passing touchdowns. Yeah, I actually just moved Jameis below Wilson. So Wilson, I am down on Wilson this week. I don't like him very much. I have him as the quarterback 16 in my rankings, but I just moved Jameis below him. So, I mean, the quarterbacks I'd play above Jameis right now that are going to be questioned are Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, Dak Prescott, Mitch Trubisky, Tom Brady, Jared Goff. Those guys I would play over Jameis. Let's see. Samuels, James White, and Josh Gordon, pick 2. Samuels and Josh Gordon are my picks. PPR, flex, Eckler, or Sutton, or Samuel. I would play Eckler. I'll just take the guaranteed touches there. Full PPR, need 1, please. Spencer Ware, Tyler Lockett, Eckler, Mixon, the flex. Mixon would be my choice of those guys, of 1. With Stafford and the Lions kind of looking like trash bags, isn't DJ Moore over Galladay a good question, especially without Greg Olsen? Yeah, you know, someone asked that question earlier in the chat, and I don't think it's a bad question at all. I think it's worth considering, but I don't think that we can guarantee DJ Moore for 8 targets a week. I just don't think we can do that, even if Greg Olsen's out, because they're involving Curtis Samuel more. Devin Funchess is back in the offense. He's healthier. Christian McCaffrey, worrying about Cam Newton's arm. He was throwing some ducks late in the game. So, I mean, there's some concern there for sure. I like DJ Moore as like a low-end wide receiver too. It is a good question, but I'd play Galladay. I just can't pass up his volume that I know will be there. Like, he is seeing 8+ targets. That's just happening. Chris Carson or LaShawn McCoy in standard? McCoy. Galladay or DJ Moore? Just answered that one. Roethlisberger or Lamar Jackson? I would play Roethlisberger over Lamar Jackson. So I'm not big on Lamar. I'm playing Roethlisberger on the road typically, but I do think that this is one instance where Roethlisberger is a fine play. And the reason I say that is because they're lacking that workhorse running back. They don't have it. They don't have James Conner. They don't have Le'Veon Bell back there. Okay. They have Jalen Samuels and, Stephen Ridley. That's fine. But do we think that they're going to be, weak winners? I don't think so. So when you go through it and you think about it, okay, what about the Raiders pass rush? What do? They don't. They have the worst pass rush in the league. Their sack percentage is 2.3%. No other team is they're a full percentage point lower than any other team. So they don't bring any pressure. Ben gets protected. If you let Antonio Brown run wild on that secondary, Juju Smith-Schuster, he's going to beat him. So yeah, I'm going to go with Ben there. Given Baltimore D, Mahomes or Rodgers? Last four killed me these past 2 weeks. L4. I don't know what the L4 means. I need as many points as possible. If you're looking for upside, play Rodgers. That's my advice. I don't think Patrick Mahomes throws for more than 280 yards and 2 touchdowns. I'm not going to tell anybody to bench Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to do it. Literally, I will not be that guy. I have him at number 1 in my rankings because I refuse. I'm just not going to move him because I'm not dumb enough to do that. But if I was being practical and saying, where do I feel good that I think Mahomes would finish? Realistically, I think that he's probably going to finish around the QB 10 to QB 15 range. That's what I think realistically that's going to happen to Mahomes. But I can't rank him there because it's just impossible to sit him for guys that are not a sure thing. Rodgers hasn't been a sure thing. Atlanta has sucked against quarterbacks. That's what I'm saying. I think Rodgers' upside is higher than Patrick Mahomes this week. I have Rodgers as my QB4. I have no issue if you wanted to play Rodgers over Mahomes. I wouldn't have that issue. I'm not going to be the one to tell you to do it, but I wouldn't have an issue with it. Spencer Ware, Allen Robinson. I'd play Ware in that situation. Give me the guaranteed touches. They're not going to be great touches, but they're at least guaranteed. Kenny Galladay or Josh Gordon. I'd play Gordon in that situation. It's a tough enough matchup for Galladay to make me go Gordon. David Johnson or Jeff Wilson. The flex need upside. So Detroit's been really, really freaking good against the run, but I can't sit David Johnson for Jeff Wilson. The way that David Johnson needs to be used this week, he needs to be used in the passing game because you can beat the Lions through the air like you could with the running back position. So I think David Johnson, if he's used more in the passing game like he was a couple weeks ago, he's the play here. Jeff Wilson's not going to get anything done on the ground. You're relying on him to get things done through the air as well. So I'd go David Johnson, and I do believe he comes with more upside too. Spencer Ware, Marlon Mack, half point. I'll go Ware. I don't like the matchup, but I don't like Max even more. Mahomes or Breeze? I'd play Mahomes. Allen Robinson or DJ Moore? I have DJ Moore ranked higher. Jeff Wilson or Spencer Ware? It depends. If it's a standard league, I'd play Ware. If it's PPR, I'd probably go Wilson. Andrew Luck or Jared Goff in full PPR? Andrew Luck. Need help to get in the playoffs. Well, your playoffs didn't start this week. You need to fix that. Playoffs should start this week. Pick one for the flex spot. Mixon, Eckler, or Kenny Galladay. I would play Mixon for mine. That would be my choice. PPR, McCoy or Wilson. McCoy. I go McCoy there. Gus Edwards, Jalen Samuels, or Marlon Mack in 1 point PPR. I'll go Jalen Samuels there. He's worth more in a PPR than Gus Edwards. Spencer Ware, Eckler, or Jeff Wilson, full point PPR. This one I will go Eckler for sure. And that's going to wrap it up, guys. Awesome. As you guys can see on the screen, we have the thing, fantasypros.com/NFL/Gameday. That's where you go. That's basically where you go to it's red zone for your fantasy team. You don't have to watch Stat Tracker anymore. You don't have to watch that stuff. It literally formulates just your fantasy team, and it tells you who's scoring points for your team, what matters most. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. We do appreciate it. It's been a fun ride this season. We're going to be back for you next week. But until next time, guys,